what said that you claim it? It's that Xbox. Spin the block, his legs live. Fast talking, no wriggling. Moonwalking, selling moon rock just to make dividends. You in traffic with family? That flash make it a portrait. Gun kick back, not grannies from porches. David on the scene, you know that it's scorching. What's the matter with King? No response to the saying, advancing the line, advancing the payment. You from the game and shoot, what said that you claim?
You already know the time, told my boys to hold the line. We gon' shoot it out in seconds, leave you posted like a vine. Bow your head down to the king, leave your roses at the shrine. We stay ready for the war, just need the king to drop the sign. Say what you running from, what you running from? I'm with my team, we bleed green, that's what you wanted, huh? Say what you running from, what you running from? I'm with my team, we bleed green, that's what you wanted, huh? This what you wanted. This what you wanted, huh?
Peace and blessings, and welcome back to Xbox Frontline News with your boy, the King. And on this incredible Monday fun day, I hope your weekend was fantastic. I hope you got a chance to do everything that you needed to do or wanted to do, or just rest up, right? Because we're in this perpetual cycle of work week, which is kind of crazy. Shouldn't be this way, but it is this way. I want to give a shout out to New Soul 9. Oh, and Arkham West, what up, man? Haven't seen you in a second, or you've been here and I've been missing you. Well, could you imagine starting a company and moving in a certain direction and not everybody is on board? And it gets to a point where you have the old fuddy-duddies. And what I mean by that is, sometimes you get so used to doing things the old way that you can't see a new way. And that traditionally hurts business. That's why, a lot of companies, and especially in corporate, they do high turnover because sometimes individuals get locked into a mind state that doesn't allow for flexibility. And I think GamePass was the disruptor that no one in the industry was doing to that degree. Right? Walk with me. Walk with me. No one was doing day and day. That business model, day ones in Game Pass, that business model was disruptive, was rebellious, and was bold. But it also forced the publishers, the studios, to make quality, compelling software that will push that platform and that will force engagement into the platform. Because look at it this way. Xbox was fundamentally taking Game Pass and making it the platform. With looking at where the projections go, because you ask your AI, you can ask any industry analyst that physical is a mirage. That's going to be the answer that they're going to give you. What is the state of physical? It's a mirage. It's a fallacy. It's a false hope. So when you ask anyone in the industry, and I'm talking about entertainment media, be it movies, be it anything that's in entertainment, the physical is the fallacy. Because what corporations want to do is sell you on the dream of ownership where there is none. And what is the greatest in gaming? What is the greatest fallacy? Ownership. That is the greatest fallacy. It is absolutely not real. It stopped being real after the PlayStation 3, after the 360, after the GameCube. It stopped being real. Well, no, Nintendo had Wii and Wii U. Then they went on to Switch. Yeah, so it stopped. They joint was the Wii U. The fallacy is ownership. Now they sell you the dream, and this is where everybody bust out the gate with subscription models, and then it forces each subscription model to battle on price. Right? Because you say to yourself, how do I battle them? If I'm a competing platform and I look over at PlayStation Plus, let's say I'm Xbox, right? And I look over at PlayStation Plus and I say, how can I beat them? What can I do that I can attack them? Oh, let's go.
At 1SDN15TH2 donated $2 through Super Chat. No day one will end up uglier than 2013 Xbox hate.
I don't believe so. And hopefully throughout this live today, I get to lay bare my argument just for that. Because the conversation that we're having is centered around Game Pass, its validity, what internally it's being talked about as, and outwardly, what is it being perceived as? And then getting down to the real root of the issue. What is sustainable for Xbox when it comes to Game Pass? And hopefully we can walk down this road together and come up with some idea outside of the conversations that individuals was having. Because one person said on Iron Lord's podcast yesterday, they left a comment and they said that because the question was asked to me about day ones inside Game Pass versus exclusivity, and my overarching opinion was from a console warrior's mentality. Blessings.
At 1SDN15TH2 donated $2 through Super Chat. XBX make the worst day one games on Game Pass, Tholto.
That's kind of crazy. That's subjective, bro. So the question was asked to me about, would I give up day ones inside Game Pass for exclusivity? And I said, from a console warrior standpoint, my stance will always be and has always been, I want PlayStation to have absolutely nothing from Xbox. And I'm talking about right of ownership, right? If you go out and you purchase something, right of ownership is the ability to do with your ownership as thy wilt. Be it right or be it wrong, if Xbox goes out and buys a company, they should be able to close that company if they choose. Be it right or be it wrong. So, with that same thought, if you go out and you purchase a studio, you should be able to command where your games go and for how much they go for, and let public outcry determine your fate. Be it right or be it wrong. But the right of ownership should give you that protection. Xbox was never afforded said protections in any of the large purchases. Oh, Sean D was good. I salute you. Thank you for the sub. The headbanging music is good. because it's needed right now. Xbox was never afforded those protections. Through collusion, allegedly, cronyism, apparently, and money hatting in a way that can only be perceived as diabolical. When you are the challenger brand and you occupy the bottom rung of a 3-horse race, and your only way to win is to buy your way out of last place, you should be afforded the luxury of your assets that gives you the ability to do what you choose. Let me explain. PlayStation uses their position as the supposed market leader in Generation 9 with a supposed 90 million consoles sold, 90 plus. And they use that when they walk in the door. I can advertise your games to over 90 million some odd people, blah, blah, blah. Your game will be seen by 90 some odd million people, and you have a better chance at your game being successful on our platform. And they use that as leverage. If Xbox walks in a room and says, I'm the third place horse in this race, you will be seen by less people. Therefore, my deal is less attractive if that is your metrics. But I can offer you $50 million more than that guy. Absent the removal of money, they're not on equal footing. Interject the money, they are on an even plane. So you're forcing Xbox to fight with one hand tied behind their back based upon the thought process of equality, where there's absolutely nothing equal. So that question was posed to me about day ones inside Game Pass, and I answered in a console warring nature based upon the platform that I was on. Iron Lord's podcast, you have Cog, that is an Xbox loyalist, but a level-headed host of the show. Attic is a gamer through and through, no matter the platform, but he would prefer to play on Xbox, but wherever the game is, he will go. Sovereign is a PC gamer that wants the game at the best possible level, regardless of the platform. I'm an Xbox fanboy. What does that mean? You saw these people losing their mind over Spain winning the World Cup. And you saw, I forgot who the hell he was playing because I don't care. But whoever they were playing, I think it was France or whatever. And they beat them. You have people crying, screaming, yelling, whatever. That means you're passionate about the brand that you support. That's what I am. So just the same way that you can be passionate about Spain and running around screaming, "Go!" I do the same thing. When Xbox gets a win, I run around screaming, "Go!" And in this life, you're supposed to be afforded the luxury to fan over what you like. Now, given the platform and listening to what everyone said, because Jez was there, shout out to Jez. They all had talking points. If you want to go to a podcast that every person has the same outlook to a situation, by all means, don't watch Iron Lord's podcast. Because we can agree, but we will always have different viewpoints of getting to that agreement. Or we can respectfully disagree and always get to whatever viewpoints it is. Because my answer resonated with the individuals that feels Like, why the hell does Xbox have to play nice? Since when does Xbox have to make sure that their games go everywhere? Oh, let's get it. Blessing, Hollywood.
At Hollywood Rules donated $2 through Super Chat. Doom, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. Happy Monbro. Good with day one gone.
Facts. This leads me back to what I was saying with this whole day one stuff and exclusivity. Xbox was never afforded the opportunity to actually truly flex their muscle. Pause. Because listen, they say that, they listen to us fanboys, and I'm probably a little egocentric when I believe that I'm probably one of the loudest ones or the only person that really stands on his twos. You have a lot of these dudes that don't really stand on their twos. And the only reason why I could say that is because half of these content creators are absolute frauds. And it's fine. Be who you are. Just stand on that. But my thought is always PlayStation doesn't play nice. Xbox should never play nice. And I don't ever want PlayStation because they can actually really never exist. Seriously. And let me explain why. If Xbox takes its 20 some odd historic IPs and decides today is the last day PlayStation will ever receive any game from any company owned by Microsoft and Xbox, deliberately severing ties with them in a hostile, adversarial manner, which in business is permissible, they will die out. Imagine a PlayStation with no Minecraft. Imagine a PlayStation with no Call of Duty, no Diablo, no Overwatch. We're not talking about the IPs of Halo, Gears, and Forza. Halo, Gears, and Forza never won the battle against PlayStation anyway. But we're talking about historic IPs, Elder Scrolls. The removal of those games, those IPs from that platform, the delisting, the no more support, everything. Yeah, the backlash would be incredible. The lawsuits would be insane. What if? See, if I was running the company, I swear to God, I'd go down to my last dollar killing them. Because all is fair in love and war. We have heard it. But yet, when it comes to Xbox, war is not good. Xbox bad. You don't do that. You play nice. You respect that guy. F that guy. Like, I don't get it, never got it, and never will. You see, you ask me, why do I buy Switch 2? Why do I buy PlayStation? Because they have exclusives that I can't get anyplace else. And that's why I buy them. That is the business model. The business model is you have something I want, I go get. Period. As the consumer, oh, you got, I get. That's it. Nothing more. In what industry is this permissible that you aren't able to utilize your assets? this brings me to this. This is brought to you by Pure Xbox and my man Frazier Gilbert. Please allow Frazier Gilbert to know that he's the unofficial, official KNN news reporter. Xbox CCO says not to be overly fixated on all single-player games being exclusives. They want to make sure they find the right balance. God forbid we upset any of you sensitive twanks. God forbid we upset any of you entitled, petulant brats. God forbid. God forbid your moist ass gets upset because you can't play a game on your console because it's on a competing platform. So what? Tough titty. Get stronger. Make more money. Buy more things. Have greater access. And it's a fundamental breakdown of ideologies. It's the thought. And if anyone sits here and tries to defend Xbox being a multi-plat based upon, oh, the games were always available. Well, they weren't always owned by Xbox either. So let me ask you a question. Do you let your significant other still go F around with their exes? Is that permissible? Are we utilizing Diddy behavior here? Is that okay? Are you in the corner screaming, take that, take that? Blessings, let's get it.
At George Purcell 5331 donated £1.99 through Super Chat. Blessings King. Hashtag booty gotta go. Asher and Ball FTW.
I agree with you, George Parcells. If you're not with us, you're against us. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. There's no I in team. And the moment that you show that you're disloyal to the movement, removal is a must. A lot of times, people are loyal to the people they are loyal to. Matt Booty was brought in by Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer, first of his name. That was his guy. That was his shooter. That was his guy. He needed him in the trenches because in Xbox, apparently, there were cliques, there were teams, and corporate sabotage is wild. I only get this shit only with Xbox. I swear to God, this is madness. But he's the only holdover from the previous regime that is in a position of authority. He got a bump up in title based upon the retirement and the removal of the previous in charge. And think about it. A lot of those people that were under the people that were previously in charge were unceremoniously either dismissed, retired, or just moved on. Yet Booty remains. And he remains, maybe he remains with the old thought process that was given to him on the pitch of, bro, I'm heading up this Game Pass, I'm doing this stuff. we're in this direction. I'm in a pinch. We got to make it happen. You understand? These dudes, we purchased this stuff, and we're having pushback, and I need somebody to help me navigate this stuff. I got you. You my guy. We rock together. This is what it is. And Matt, for the time, was great for the time. But remember what I said about sometimes you're an old fuddy-duddy. We heard an awful lot about exclusivities over the past couple of months since Xbox announced that both Gears of War E-Day and Clockwork Revolution will be getting exclusive treatment. But we also still quite in the dark about the plans going forward, aside from that we definitely will be getting more of them in the future. Now, two things can be true. Game Pass will undergo some form of restructuring, and exclusivities will be back. We do understand that Project Latitude was a failure. We also, from the same individual, the Empress Asha Sharma, Game Pass was a failure. Game Pass being a failure is it never hit the sustainable numbers of reoccurring subscriptions that internally they wanted to hit. By doing that and falling short quarter after quarter, financials after financials, and subsidizing hardware while leveraging software sales. Blessings. Let's get it.
At @new_soul9 donated $2 through Super Chat. I'm sorry, Matt need to shut up and be let go.
Blessings. I think Matt is a cool dude. Soul9, I really think he's a cool dude. I just think that sometimes some people aren't aligned with the mission, you know? And not being aligned with the mission can actually be a detriment to what is transpiring. But let me continue, because I went past the train and drop. Various Xbox leaders have suggested that single-player games are most likely titles to go exclusive in the future. I would honestly don't bank on that. The reason why I don't bank on just single-player titles being exclusive, single-player titles have the biggest failure rate compared to multiplayer titles. Let me explain. The one and done model you see has been eroded when it comes to sustainability. They started doing stuff like DLCs, selling different cosmetics, doing different things to enhance the price value to proposition of the single player game. Whereas the multiplayer game has a component that will give you residual income as long as the game is viable, making the success rate of multiplayer games higher than single player games. Now, with the mandate over at Xbox internally, mentally, with Asha, of making Xbox great again, the thought process is win now. So if exclusive games are just single player games, that strategy would not bear fruit. You must leverage public demand, public outcry, versus FOMO to give engagement to your platform. How do you do that? You make sure that multiplayer is available in the places that you deem acceptable. What are those acceptable deemed places? PC and Xbox. If you see the numbers on Steam, and they use Steam as a barometer, super high, and then the numbers of Xbox is added in after Matt Piscatella and Sakana gets those numbers a month later, it introduces a level of FOMO to the platforms that don't have access to it. The coverage goes up through the roof. Therefore, you get a phenomena, and that's where you get the stragglers, the excess buyers, the person that might have an Xbox platform, but don't really game there. But like myself, make sure that they have everything so that they never miss out. Because when you are ready, you never have to get ready. So I think it's a misnomer to believe that single player is the only target. So that conversation in that mind frame, and I'm talking about bigger thinking, is correct. Don't just assume single player is the barometer for exclusivity. E-Day will have a multiplayer component. We don't know if Clockwork Revolution has a multiplayer component. Xbox has shown the majority of their games have a tail. And that's based upon their infrastructure with the Azure cloud system. They have data centers across the world that facilitate a large bandwidth so games can be made with the thought of having multiplayer without limiting the scope of the reach of the game. Some games are limited in scope based upon the reach of the publisher. Because sometimes you go into making a game and saying, what can we feasibly do? Instead of having a blank canvas and make what you want to make. IEOD for Kojima. Xbox is the platform that is necessary for his thought process. The same way I felt that Death Stranding home should have been GamePass, should have been Xbox, because the mentality of that game is of a broader scale that is leveraged about community. All right, hold on. They've also stated that games with existing deals such as Halo, Campaign, Evolve, and Fable will remain multi-platform as well. Inking those deals were never Asha's issue. That was the previous regime's issue that forced her into a position where we get to watch your identity play out on a competing platform. And maybe Halo to certain people don't mean the same this day as it meant when it came out 25 years ago. For me, I beg to differ. For somebody newer to the platform, they're probably like, who the hell is Halo anyway? Who gives a hell? And I think that mentality, don't preserve your core, is wrong. I believe that in itself shows that you would do anything. You know how they say some content creators, you see some content creators do anything for $1. I mean, literally anything. And sometimes you got to hold core values. You got to have core values. And I believe that Xbox compromised their core. They compromised their core values. And I want you to understand this. As a console warrior, which is funny, because you know what people say? When you say console warriors, people get upset. Yo, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. You're a fanboy. You're a fan. You down for this. You stand up for it. You like to argue about your platform. You like that. That's what it is. That's what's fun. That's what makes the brand fun. That's why you have PlayStation guys in the chat talking crap. That's why you have Nintendo dudes. Well, I don't know why they be here, because it's not like their platform doing anything, but they'll be over here talking in the chat, and they can't play games that look as good. And the defense is here. It's fun. That's what you do. That's what it's about. It's just strange sometimes. But in understanding that fanboyism is supposed to be, your platform can only be better for it And when you remove that from it, you hurt it. You hurt it. And some people were outright disgusted. But when leadership moves in a certain direction, you can be absolutely opposed to it. But you don't have the vision of the person that can see over the mountain. Because you're down there battling. You got to take with all certainty whatever's being said is being true at the time. So, day one's inside Game Pass at the time was true. Splitting up, going multi-plat at the time was true. Because you got to look at the hamstring that they put Microsoft or Xbox under with the FTC and the CMA and all that BS that was going on. You've never seen anything like it. Trust, and you never will. They will make sure that Xbox will never make a large purchase ever again. Based upon what they went through with the second large purchase. Because ZeniMax pretty much did what it was supposed to do, but they kept their eye on them. And the ABK stuff really made people stand up because you purchased. It's like going out and buying some Infinity Stones. At that point, Microsoft had owned 2 Infinity Stones and was going for the Soul Gem when it came to ABK. Ball says the large live service titles will be multi-platform moving forward. And remember, large live service titles will be multi-platform moving forward, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of Xbox single-player games will be console exclusive either. Booty added, I wouldn't overly fixate on single player. I think that it's a good rule of thumb, but it certainly isn't something to be carved in stone. That right there. If we're both sitting someplace and we're both in an interview, no matter how much you think you're adding to anything that I'm saying, we both must be unified in the message. There's conflict in that message. Is conflict in those words. There's a friction point that is visible. And if your friction point is that visible in public, the assumption is the friction point is larger in private. What do you do if you're Asha? You brought in a strategist in Matthew Ball. And at this moment, you can't get rid of Booty because his knowledge of what's being made and what he's overseeing is necessary. Plus, it would be strategically unwise to remove your eyes and ears that was there before you, and the language surrounding you is you know nothing about video games. It's an optics. And this day and age, the optics is strategy. Elsewhere in the interview, Booty talks about how Xbox has to hit the right balance. That shit. When it comes to making titles exclusive, highlighting that certain titles have been in the works for a long time, and the balance is between the work that teams have invested and a strategy pivot. It is absolutely nothing in this world to just say that version doesn't go out. You know how many titles are in the works? Shout out to Black Myth Wukong. Before Sony dropped the bag, Xbox title was moving along right as rain. Yeah, they had a little issues with the Series S, and they would get that up and running. I had no problems with it on my Series S when I was playing, matter of fact. But as soon as the money hit, that shit dipped. So you got to start really saying to yourself at this time, it has to be a friction point where language like this is being utilized. Hold on, okay. His comments seem to be addressing the previously announced multi-platform titles in particular here, alluding to the dangers of now pulling them away. Listen, sometimes you got to bite the bullet. Sometimes all money ain't good money. You have to then be a better platform. You have to really start prioritizing quality over quantity. You got to really start leading by example and putting out titles that hit that 80, 85 Metacritic and above. You got to really start locking in, because all money isn't good money. If somebody is tearing down the house that you built, but they're paying you to do so, is it good? It's not. You have to preserve yours no matter what the cost. And if that is not your mentality, then you don't need to be here. Because it's Xbox above all when you're in that building. And if anything outside of that, it comes off as completely disrespectful and tone deaf. You didn't see anybody at Sony when Helldivers was going over to Xbox walk around with a Xbox Helldivers shirt. But you saw a Halo game being announced for PlayStation and a dev having on a PlayStation shirt. Your enthusiasm to be a whore is too high. Interesting, the studio head of Spiral, a Realm Beyond developer Toys for Bobs, is quoted in the article stating that his teams are absolutely planning on shipping this to platforms we announced, including PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2, but that's out of my hands. If Xbox decides to make the strategic shift, there are various comments from other studios in here as well, such as Playground Games founder Ralph Fulton, confirming a PlayStation release and highlighting its ability to reach as many fans who want to play it as possible. We're still not fully in the picture about to expect what's from exclusivity going forward then, but Xbox apparently wants to make it clearer for us going forward. Matthew Ball has talked about this before in previous interviews and mentioned in this one that the company's committed to providing more clarity for players. Ball adds, we have a framework for these selections, including how we evaluate them. I recognize this approach is not obvious to all our players, and we are committed to making it clearer. At some point in time, all those answers that we want will be revealed. But do you realize when everybody was talking about Xbox was going to have a bloodbath, that all these studios was going to be closed, that the 4 studios were named were going to be closed, and the games were going to be canceled. And the language surrounding that was at an all-time high. And automatically our minds went to the worst possible scenarios. But then it turned out not to be true. And it is because you lost faith in the brand. When you believed anything that they said outside of facts, you lost faith in the brand. And that was based off of stuff that happened just like that interview. They could be literally sitting right next to each other saying two different things. That cannot continue. It has to be nipped in the bud. It has to be erased. A lot of people ask me, why the hell did Xbox or Microsoft mandate a lot of layoffs? There were a ton of layoffs, with some centering around Xbox, but mostly centering around other aspects of Microsoft. I've always told you to follow the money. I've always told you, don't necessarily take everything that everyone says for as a fact, because there are people that are paid to spin the narrative, to spin you in such a way that you start to believe something that is not true. I told you before, I have a hate relationship when it comes to generative AI or AGI, advanced general intelligence, artificial intelligence, because that is designed to usurp us. It's designed. It is cultivated, multiplied, and deployed to remove as many humans as possible when it comes to different tasks. And it starts off minor. It starts off in ways that you don't recognize at first. But by the time you do realize, it's already done. This right here is the reason why you got a ton of those layoffs. And I'm going to start explaining it to you again. Microsoft, and they think, and somebody said that Microsoft did not invest as much money in AI. And I said, that's absolutely not true. They doubled down. It's on record. You can just go look at the books. It's on record. If you double down in an area, but then you're cutting spending from another area, and you're doubling down in this area hurts that area, you are the enemy. I told you, I can love Xbox, but hate Microsoft. Microsoft would deploy AMD's Helio Rack scale AI accelerators at scale on Azure Radeon Instinct MI455X, and Epoch Venus power will be available through Redmond's cloud infrastructure. Listen, let me explain just really quickly. They have the partnership with AMD. This partnership with AMD is utilizing technology for their clouds to boost it, to get more out of less, right? Because right now, ramping up all of this is taking a ton of wattage, right? The demand for the AI compute is already unsustainable, and it seems only poised to grow in the wake of the introduction of frontier class open models like Kimi and K3. Listen, a lot of you guys think that that AI that you have access to right now is really like the bee's knees. It isn't, right? There are frontier models that are scary, and you don't have access to them. And when they say to a consumer level, understand you will never be the demographic for that consumer, because that's based on billions of dollars. Corporations is their consumer. We're not the consumer when it comes to frontier models, right? That anybody can potentially fine tune and serve. Against this backdrop, Microsoft and AMD are teaming up to get Redmond more AI flops for both internal and external use. The companies announced this morning that Microsoft will commit to adding AMD Helio Rack scale AI accelerators in volume to run frontier model workloads in its own data centers, as well as for Azure AI infrastructure, consumers, and services. Listen. I'm going to have a conversation with somebody soon after all their stuff is buttoned up, then we figure out when the NDA is up. And we're going to talk candidly about all the stuff that they had to go through while working at a particular company and what they believe is the reason for being let go and all the ramifications in that. But they will testify to the fact that they were given, instructed, and mandated to cultivate an AI agent that mirrored their workload on a daily basis. Now, when you want to win and exclusivities is on the table, you got to go for the juggler. This is brought to you by Pure Xbox and Frazier Gilbert, the official KNN affiliate. Xbox Boss highlights the remarkable success of 3 key franchises at Bethesda. It feels like a long time ago now, but back on Friday that Bethesda Game Studios announced a whole bunch of plans for the future, including an intense focus on Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, and Starfield. Xbox boss Asher Sharma also had a few things to say about the following announcements, highlighting all reasons why these 3 franchises are considered so important to both her team and Bethesda's team going forward. There are some statistics that she reeled off. This has led me to believe that she is using sabermetrics for gaming. She has the statistics, the analytics on what franchises, what IPs in the short term can make the most dramatic impact and how it can be deployed in order to obtain success. The reason why I believe this, the language surrounding everything that she has said and done so far leads me to believe this because how she has been moving. We have said for the longest that we wanted a Fallout New Vegas headed by the originals director and Josh Sawyer. We thought it was a pipe dream. The only variable that was in the building, you see, because let me explain. Bethesda had the opportunity before, they didn't do it. Xbox gets Compulsion Games. Xbox gets ZeniMax. They're both in the building. The collaboration doesn't happen. Insert Asha, remove previous regime. It's happening. She has to be the X factor when it comes to this stuff. And I believe that she presents an airtight argument when it comes to getting her way based upon sabermetrics to convince Amy Hood and Satya of any form of exclusivity when Satya was the only person questioning why are our games exclusive to our platform. When he said that to Phil, remember, after he said that, 4 games went over as a quote unquote test, and then we see the initiation of Project Latitude. We can only surmise by Asha's comments that Project Latitude was a failure based upon the sabermetrics of it, the statistics of it, the breakdown of what you sent on based upon the return. It didn't play out as you expected it. She pointed it out with statistics, facts that you can't deny. insert exclusivities here. Todd Howard just shared plans for Fallout, the Elder Scrolls, and Starfield franchises. These worlds have earned a special place with hundreds of millions of players over the years. They're looking forward to what's next, including the partnership with Obsidian and a new Fallout game, closer collaboration with ZeniMax Online Studios on the Elder Scrolls. The achievement of these franchises are remarkable. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim has grossed 65 million units sold, becoming one of the 10 best-selling games of all time. Fallout 4 has also crossed 35 million units sold, joining in the top 25, and Starfield will soon reach over 1 billion hours played. I'm not giving the actual sell-through numbers because Starfield came out in a time where active player data is more valuable than unit sales. And that's where the problem with Game Pass comes in. Because what people that are old fuddy-duddies don't realize, monthly active users, daily active players, the metrics of time that you're spent in the ecosystem is more valuable than a single purchase. And trying to convince a person that believes that unit sales are the above all metrics to forming a dominating platform, that individual cannot be converted if that is their ideology. And this is the reason why you have friction points inside Game Pass, because Game Pass is based on daily active players, monthly active users, subscription based, and not unit sales. Back in June, Sharma and Vice President Matt Booty mentioned that their 5 realities of the Xbox reset that they had are the fortunate stewards of the industry defining franchises that have enormous potential and player demand. We have not adequately funded them to compete and win. In this case, Bethesda Studios, it certainly feels like they're honing the Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Starfield as being IPs to focus on in the years to come. Of course, there's likes of Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein that they're cited and expecting from ZeniMax Studios to deliver as well. Those titles will make it over because she named Doom as one of those franchises that needed to make it happen. We got to get to Game Pass being detested by developers. This is brought to you by Pure Xbox and my man Frazier Gilbert, the unofficial, official K&N supporter, journalist. His work is phenomenal. The reporter claims that Game Pass is absolutely detested by some Xbox studio leader. Could it change in the future? Remember, my summation to this whole thing is based upon personal clout. My game sold 10 million. Do you know who I am? My game was played by 10 million. Do you know who I am? Think about it. Whose resume speaks loudest? The 10 million sold or the 10 million played? Of course the sold. Because we live in a capitalistic society where we value the monetary gain of money. We value that. We look at it and we say, this is tangible. What is not tangible is players. That's not tangible. That's, what is that? Hocus pocus. That's not real. King, how dare you bring up a player count? Xbox is the weaker platform. Okay. But could this be true too? That Xbox by per capita per game has a longer playtime session compared to PlayStation per capita per game per person? Could that also be true? That the engagement factor on every aspect of the Xbox platform is more so exploited over the PlayStation person in the PlayStation ecosystem, based upon the grooming nature in which Xbox makes multiplayer, multi-diversity playing gamers where PlayStation grooms you to a single player mentality mindset. Buy one game, play it, master it, stay in that one game, get a chance to go back to that one game over a period of time. Where Xbox have you playing multiple different games in multiple different areas and skewing you to do multiple different things. Can that also be true? This has been a lot of speculation in recent weeks about the Xbox Game Pass, especially following this decision to remove day one Call of Duty releases from the Ultimate tier. Now, a lot of people think that if they remove day one games from Game Pass, that this will absolutely break Game Pass. Listen, there's going to be something that's going to happen. They already told you that Game Pass in its current form isn't what they want, or isn't to be desired in the manner that they want it to be. So look forward, because she doesn't talk in a vacuum. She doesn't utilize words. She doesn't have throwaway words. That's what's more concerning when she speaks. Because when she speaks, it is like she calculated what she was going to deliver to you guys and cultivated it in a way to make you speculate, and then look at all of the speculation and see where the yay and nay lands in that speculation and go with the yay. That gives her an automatic win. That is the most diabolical, evil genius thought process when you think about it. Like, the initial language is set up as a trap to elicit a response, and looked at the negative response, and don't go with the negative response, go with the positive response based upon the reaction that you got from the crowd. A freaking genius. I can see why she was in the places that she was in and elevated as quickly as she did, and I can understand why she was chosen for the space that she's in right now. Some people are of the belief that Xbox might do the same with other day one releases in order to encourage more sales for those titles. In a recent episode of Triple Click Podcast, well-known Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier suggested that a lot of people in the Xbox studio leadership absolutely detest the service. There's a ton of them that are in Xbox leadership. There are a ton of people that bonuses were tied to that previous metrics. If your bonus was tied to unit sales, if your contract states that it's tied to unit sales, you would detest Game Pass right now, because Game Pass does not equal unit sales. So that bonus ain't coming. That's a you thing. There are a lot of people out there in the studio leadership within Xbox who absolutely detest Game Pass and think it destroyed the value of their games. They think it has taken away the value of all games in general, just as a service, and has been a detriment to games industry and the people's view because of how it devalues games. Now, let me start by saying this thing. Game Pass is not the issue. It is the deployment of how Game Pass is utilized, which people take offense to. The reason why they take offense to it is other publishers aren't or do not have the ability to do Game Pass day one type of behaviors, because their business model isn't backed by a $4 trillion company. Their business model isn't backed by Minecraft, Call of Duty. Their business model doesn't have the IPs that can keep that type of behavior afloat. Take EA access. They have like a pro access that I don't have access to unless I go through my PC, which I don't. My EA access is timed to my Game Pass Ultimate. I had EA access separate, and I didn't find it compelling enough, but Game Pass was. And I continued with Game Pass and I dropped EA access. But when Game Pass Ultimate came around, I ultimately went with Ultimate based upon day ones and the inclusion of EA access. EA access is a subpar subscription model, like in the vein of PlayStation Plus and many others. The reason why Game Pass stands head and shoulders above them all is day ones. Now, if they was to remove day ones, for argument's sakes, I'm going to shelve the fanboy thought, and I'm going to say it from a business model. You can offer day one, and you can leave ultimate as ultimate is. But exclusivity, coming back to the platform, you don't want to go and raise Game Pass ultimate price just to keep day ones. Here's the argument. That is bait and switch. And I know she isn't beholden to what the previous regime has done, but based upon those promises, 44 million people listened. And when they listened, they paid. And when they paid, they had expectations. And in those expectations, you must follow through. I didn't see a way for Asha to save those 4 studios and save those games. I, like many others, felt that they were resigned to their fate and it was going to play out like previous rumors when it came to studio closures. But it didn't. And that made me understand sometimes you just got to have a little bit of faith in the ingenuity of man. And in this case, woman. Because she did what others couldn't. And the expectations were worse than we would ever care to actually agree upon. So if she did the impossible here, then it stands to reason that she would do the impossible here. She did the impossible with E-Day and Clockwork Revolution and told you more to come. And I honestly would not bet against her. Elder Scrolls 6 could possibly be a defining moment in gaming. The reason why I believe that it could be a defining moment in gaming, because think about it. It isn't a foregone conclusion that Elder Scrolls 6 has to be on competing platforms. If you plan on selling your next generation hardware that you're releasing next year, and you have this once in a lifetime home run, who do you bet on? When your conversation was, I want Xbox to be Xbox again, that means that you viewed it as not being the same and something transpired and something happened. And if you're like me and you're going back 25 years ago, well, Xbox had exclusive, Xbox was aggressive, Xbox was bold, Xbox did things to stand out. What stand out more than making Elder Scrolls a true exclusive? With bringing back true exclusives, and I don't know how she figures out Game Pass and what that turns out into. Does that bring you back to the brand? Does that establish your thoughts of this brand is working its way back. Because if you're sick, because she acknowledges that they were sick. And if you're sick, you got to get better. And sometimes the medicine that you got to take to get better sucks. Have you ever taken castor oil? You got to really think. Sometimes the medicine sucks, but do you want to get better? Have you ever had your knee drained? I had my knee drained. Went to the doctor. This guy pulls out a freaking needle. I swear to God, it probably was like this. And he puts this needle into my knee, sprays it with some numbing cream, and I'm like, that ain't gonna freaking work, my guy. And he sticks the needle into my knee, and the needle like disappears into my knee, but he draws out so much fluid. And the thought process in looking at it, the cure looked horrible, but I needed to get better. So I know they're going to get better. I know with a person that is determined in the way that she's determined, it's going to get better. But I want to say about one company that I won't bet against. Because when you want to think out of the box, you got to really be a serious maverick in this day and age. I laugh at GameStop all the time. GameStop is dead. GameStop said, King, hold my damn beer. GameStop, and this is brought to you by Global Data. And who is the, oh man. I'm going to butcher your name. I'm just going to call you Vermeil. Thank you. Uber Eats expands retail offering with GameStop partnerships. They are offering same-day delivery on your purchases from GameStop. You want physical? I got you, baby. You want to be as fast as digital? I got you, baby. You want it in an hour or less? I got you, baby. Uber Eats is partnering with GameStop in order to stop the bleeding. I got to champion this. I didn't see this shit coming. I got to champion this. I got to respect somebody fighting for their damn life. You know what that R. Kelly mean? I'm fighting for my damn life. That is GameStop. Bro, we got to give a soul clap. I got to give you a soul clap. You are not going away, son. You are not going away. You're not doing Blockbuster. You are not doing what you're fighting to the, I got to respect this. I'm from Pokemon cards to selling. Look, man. Look what the store look like now. Before it was just games, plushies and shit. You want to talk about somebody fighting for their life? I gotta respect it. This ain't. Come on, man. This ain't. Man, listen. According to Uber Eats, the move forms a part of a broader expansion, and this is nationwide, of its retail offering as more users turn to the app for purchases beyond food. The company said it's expanding its retail selection to make it easier to get everything you need and want with the tap of a button. Uber North America grocery and retail head Hashim Amin said, adding GameStop to Uber Eats strengthening our growing gaming and electronics section, giving gamers access to another trusted retailer that they can shop with speed and convenience they know from Uber. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like, yo, listen. You know what's crazy? People act like they talk about games and they talk and they do this game stuff. They don't really do this game stuff. They really just go for the sensationalizing stuff, talking about physical stuff right now. Sony getting out of, because I went to go for Sony news, and it's just absolutely the same thing, and everybody's talking about the same thing. But then when it gets to Xbox stuff, they got to go with the negative Xbox news and don't give you the analytical thought process when it comes to what Game Pass means and why there are friction points inside the ecosystem over at Xbox, and how those friction points will be mitigated, erased, and replaced. Right? Individuals will always harping on the downfall of a platform they don't care about. I bleed green. And I will always look for them to get healthier, better, stronger, more viable in my chosen media of choice, gaming. Speaking of media of choice, did y'all see that Avengers Doomsday trailer? It's up. And I already pre-ordered my tickets for day one. I already did it. They was giving 1,000 extra points on Regal, so I just did it. I got tickets for a movie that comes out December 18th. That's wild. I've never done that in my life. But I've done it now. I don't even have my Spider-Man tickets yet, and I got to get on top of that because I got to wear a Spider-Man suit going forward. But I want to thank each and every last one of you guys for showing up today. This is candid conversations of why people hate Game Pass at Xbox. Like, I understand if your bonus is tied to unit sales and you came under that premise, but that changed. Oh, Marv, what's good? I salute you. Thank you for subbing. He said, no noir Spider-Man movie. I'm watching the noir show. It's dope. He said, is Shank Funko Pop? Uber a Funko Pop or a game t-shirt in reality. I too must applaud GameStop for trying. Blessing. Yo, listen. In a day and age where I watched Circuit City disappear, I watched The Wiz disappear, I watched Blockbuster disappear, I watch companies close down and go away. We're having a record number of restaurants close in the United States. And we Red Lobster, tons of these places. Soon they won't ever exist. But I'm actively seeing, because I'm entrenched in gaming, I'm actively seeing a staple in gaming fighting against the digital onslaught. GameStop is a physical entity. It works off of nostalgia. It works off of FOMO. It works off of physical. It is diametrically opposed to the digital onslaught that is before it. This shit is like 300 Spartans fighting the Persians. They ultimately gonna lose. But you gonna remember their damn name. I gotta go down to GameStop. Yo, I'm gonna order some Uber Eats and get me some GameStop stuff. Why? Because you tried. Man, listen, man, you doing day and date. I can wait. Let me order that, man. Let me bang. Let me get that boogie. You crazy? And think about it this way. What if that is the only way for you to lock in like the ultimate bundle? Like you see the Halo Ultimate Bundle joint, and you able to only get it through Uber Eats. You start getting exclusives through Uber Eats. Hey man, if you do it, I want my money because I gave you some game. Just break a brother off, man. Break a brother off, and we good. But yo, this is still. I want to thank each and every last one of you for showing up today. I'm going to do what you should do. What a lot of dudes at Xbox better be doing is I want you to go with game is game and win is win. And I want you to try to play the Game Pass. But before You play the Game Pass. I'm the unmitigated best at this. And if anyone is better than me, then put them up.
What's a man or a king? What's it saying? Advancing the line, advancing the payment. You front the game and shoot what said as you claim it. It's that Xbox. Spin the block, his legs slide. Fast talking, no riddling. Moonwalking, selling moon rock just to make dividends. You in traffic with family? That flash making a portrait. Gun kick back, not grannies from porches. David on the scene, you know that it's scorching. What's a man or a king? What's it saying? Advancing the line, advancing the payment. You front the game and shoot what said as you claim it.
You already know the time, told my boys to hold the line. We gon' shoot it out in seconds, leave you posted like a vine. Bow your head down to the king, leave your roses at the shrine. We stay ready for the war, just need the king to drop the sign. Say what you running from, what you running from? I'm with my team, we bleed green, that's what you wanted, huh? Say what you running from, what you running from? I'm with my team, we bleed green, that's what you wanted, huh? This what you wanted. This what you wanted, huh?